Hello. Welcome to another installment of the Central American Group's podcast, in which experts discuss topics related to doing business in Costa Rica, El Salvador, and the rest of the region.
Hello. Welcome to another installation of the Central American Group series of podcasts. In these discussions, we speak with individuals that are either external to the Central American Group or involved in activities of the Central American Group. Today we have with us Miguel Flores, and he's with Loginter or Logística Internacional, which is part of the Central American Group. Miguel, hello, and can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, Stephen, always a pleasure to talk to you. I've been in this business since 1985. I joined Loginter in 2008, so a couple of years has been passing by. Things go so quickly, but here I'm saying hello to you from Costa Rica. You know that I'm based in El Salvador, but I'm looking here because very soon we're going to open the operation here in Costa Rica in this beautiful place, the Green Park. So greetings to everybody from Costa Rica.
Well, thanks a lot. It's must be beautiful down there. Well, we have several questions that we'd like to ask you today, having to do with the services that are offered by Loginter in both El Salvador and very shortly in Costa Rica. And could you tell us, let's talk about consolidation of cargo under the International Services Law in El Salvador. Can you tell us what is a consolidation service under the International Services Law in El Salvador?
Yes, exactly. This law was especially designed for in El Salvador several years ago. It was almost in the beginning of it was at the beginning of Loginter. And in this part specific for consolidation, this law allows to get cargo in our facilities from different shippers that are actually manufacturing cargos in El Salvador. They bring it to our facility. We receive partial cargos from different vendors, and then as soon as we have enough cargo for filling a container, we do the consolidation and export the cargo. So this means it's going to be, even there are several vendors, they can use one single point of origin to export their cargo. This increases the efficiency of the containers, so you don't have lost the space of the containers. This figure it's to create control as well over the cargo on behalf of the buyers, because once the cargo gets into our warehouse, the buyer has full control of the cargo, and they are the ones deciding when and to where ship these cargos. That's one of the parts of the idea. Also, we already have, for example, cases that we're going to call multi-country consolidation. This means that one buyer who is producing cargos in different or other countries in the region, for example, will say Nicaragua, Honduras, or Guatemala, and they have a small cubic meters of cargo for one single consignee or one single destination. The law allows to send this cargo from different countries to our facility and then make the consolidation from Loginter and export the cargo to final destination. This model, we already use it for one American company. and mainly for markets that are not typical for us, for example, Australia or emerging markets. This model has been proved, tested, and it makes sense to our customers. Also, the law allows us to get cargo from local companies, from companies that are located in free zones, or standalone regimes. So we can collect cargo from any regimes that are actually working in El Salvador. So that's the idea, generally speaking, of the consolidation services under Loginter facility.
What are the advantages of the consolidation services that take place under the International Law of Services in El Salvador?
For example, you can have one single shipper sending cargoes to multiple consignees, and they can send the cargo to our facility, and then we segregate the cargo and we dispatch the cargo based on the different POs that the vendor is producing. So he gets the production completed. He doesn't need to have the whole production completed. They can send partial cargoes to our facility, continue producing their cargo. Once the whole shipment is ready, this is mainly for companies that can ship 10, 15, 20 containers, in one single shipment. They don't need to store the cargo in their facilities. That's why to use Loginter as this intermediate warehouse. That's one idea, one advantage. So the vendor is using his facility not as a factory, not as a warehouse facility. That's one idea. In the other, for example, there are some cases that the vendors are producing partial cargoes, a small amount of cargoes that do not fill one full container. So we can put several vendors and collect the cargo from these different ones and ship it to one specific destination. So that creates a savings, in this case, for the consignee or for the buyer of the cargo. Another one is that the Incoterms can be flexible. For example, instead of using DDU Miami term, they can use a CFS Loginter as an example. This will create us that once the cargo gets into our facility, the cargo comes under the control of the buyer. So the vendor receives his payment, but the cargo is fully under control of the buyer, and the buyer can guarantee to his final destination when and where and through which shipping line or airline is going to receive the cargo. So in other words, they have more visibility or have visibility of what cargo is in El Salvador. They don't need to wait until they open their containers at their destination or their warehouses or distribution centers in the States. They will know it exactly, since the cargo is still in the place of where the cargo was manufactured. Those are some of the idea that I have in my mind, Stephen.
Well, what kind of businesses would use this consolidation services under the international service law in El Salvador?
Well, as I tell you, unfortunately, the government create this law to try to cover all the different regiments that we are using in El Salvador. So now we can use the facility or this method, even it is a local person, a local guy, a Salvadorian company producing, or can be used by any company that is located on a free zone, or can be used in any company that is located or working under standalone regime. So actually, any kind of production, any way that they are producing for overseas customer can use this service.
Who else can do consolidation of cargo under the international services law in El Salvador?
Only the logistics operators as Loginter. This law was very strict. We spent more than a year getting all the permissions and all the authorization from a lot of institutions in El Salvador, because this permission, this license is only given to companies that has demonstrated in every possible way that we're going to comply not only with local law, because we are working with international companies, that our standards of service and our standards of safety in the facilities, infrastructure, personnel, etc., is compliant, and it can be compared to any country in the world. So only companies that are authorized as Ley de Servicios Internacionales, as Loginter, can do this type of shipments.
Do you have any customers currently operating under the international services law in El Salvador?
Yes, Stephen. We have one customer that is in the actually using this service for, I will say, 2-3 years. It is a very famous US brand that has different vendors working in El Salvador. They did it, as I told you, they changed the terms of Incoterms, and now once the cargo is delivered into Loginter, they have the full control of the cargo. So we receive small trucks or big trucks from 3, 4, 5 different vendors. We get the cargo, and then we start scanning the cargo. We scan each box that has been delivered during the week in our facility. Then we transmit an EDL file to this our customer system, so they have the visibility of what type of cargo we have in Loginter. Then they start ordering us which POs needs to be dispatched to which of their destinations in the States. So what they are doing, and basically the saving for them is that we are working under just-in-time delivery. They are cutting their expenses of warehousing in the States. Of course, it's more cheaper to have a warehouse facility in El Salvador rather than the States. And in other words, we act as their own warehouse in El Salvador. As well, we act as their eyes or their control in origin, because in case we see a box or a label that is being damaged or has something wrong, we immediately inform the shipper and they change the box or the label, so everything goes smooth. So we ensure that the shipments are going free of any problems, since El Salvador.
Miguel, just one last question. You mentioned that you're speaking today to us from San Jose, Costa Rica, and you mentioned that you're already up and running and have been for several years in El Salvador. When do you expect that operations in Costa Rica will begin?
Well, we already complete the process. We already have the authorization from Procomer here in Costa Rica that we're going to operate this type of facility in Costa Rica with our partners at the Green Park. The warehouse, it's almost complete. What we are discussing here right now is our, in terms of distribution of the racks, location of the receptionist of the cargo, the small things that need to be clarified. But in the big picture, we are planning to open our operation on January 2020 because we already passed all the process that the Costa Rican authorities request us to do. And fortunately, thanks to our experience in the group, thanks to the lawyers and every people that we hire to guide us and to into this process made a wonderful job. So basically, in a couple of months, Steve, I hope you will be invited to see our opening and the rest of the people that are here in this podcast.
That's great. Could you tell us, and we've been talking about freight consolidation services under the International Services Law in El Salvador, but what are other services that customers that are involved with international trade, what are services that you offer beyond this service?
Yes, we can do, for example, in case of the inbound, we can provide the custom clearance and the last mile of the cargo. That means we have two trucking companies that can bring the containers from the port to our warehouse. This is for inbound. Same thing works from, we can do the last mile in this case, from our facility to the port. So we have trucking companies dedicated to this kind of services. As well, we work with companies that provide freight forwarding. We have several contracts, basically with all the shipping lines that are calling Central America. We had succeeded to have a very preferential contracts with these shipping lines that give us the advantage to have very good ocean freights negotiated even here at origin or with our partners around the world as destination. So in other words, we can cover all the services that any company that is interested to do business in the region, business in Central America. We have the contracts, we have the partners that give us the support to cover the area.
Well, that's good to know. And we know that perhaps there are individuals that are listening to this podcast that may have additional questions about your company and its services. That being the case, how would somebody that would like to know more information get in touch with you?
Yes, please, they click in our webpage, the Central American Group, and once you get into our webpage, just can navigate, try to get the information that you have, and if there is something specific that you need to talk to us, you will find a form over there and you fill it up, and immediately once one of our people will be answering you and will start talking about your needs in the region. So go to the Central American Group webpage and you will get us immediately reply.
Okay, folks, the webpage is at www.thecentralamericangroup.com. Miguel, I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy day to speak with us. It's been a pleasure as always. Hope you that have a nice day, and we wish you well.
Yeah, many thanks, Steve. So, like I am in Costa Rica, I will say pura vida.
All right. Thank you very much, and have a good evening.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. Sign up to receive the Central American Group's quarterly newsletter by visiting www.thecentralamericangroup.com.